In a storm-lashed room, Bensoda's family stands on the brink of destruction, their once unbreakable bonds now shattered by greed, resentment, and betrayal. As they confront the reading of the will, the shocking revelation of Bensoda's final wishes ignites a powder keg of anger, leaving them spiraling into chaos. Amid the fighting, Rema's desperate plea to unite them is drowned in a sea of accusations, and the inheritance they all covet slips further out of reach. With emotions running high and trust in tatters, each family member faces a heart-wrenching choice: will they let greed consume them, or can they rise from the ashes of their father's legacy? Osman paced back and forth in Mr. Oka's office, frustration boiling inside him like a simmering pot ready to overflow. The air felt thick with tension as he shot a sharp glance at the lawyer. "Tell me about the will," he barked, his voice laced with urgency. Mr. Oka remained calm, his hands clasped on his desk. "I cannot reveal anything until the appointed time," he replied firmly, his gaze unwavering. Osman felt the weight of disappointment crush him. He believed he was the rightful heir to Bensoda's fortune, the elder brother destined to take charge. As the lawyer's words echoed in his mind, rage bubbled to the surface. "This is ridiculous. Bensoda would never keep me in the dark like this," he ceded, clenching his fists. The thought of being denied his share fueled his anger. He stormed out of the office, the door slamming behind him, leaving a cloud of unease lingering in the air. Outside, he took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm inside. But it was no use. A dark plan began to form in his mind, a way to take control of what he believed was rightfully his. "I won't let anyone stand in my way," he vowed silently, feeling the fire of ambition consume him. As he walked through the village, whispers of gossip reached his ears. People spoke of Bensoda's death and the growing discord among the family. Let them fight, he thought, a smirk creeping onto his face. The more they squabbled, the better his chances would be. Osman's heart raced at the thought of seizing control, of turning the family's chaos to his advantage. But he knew he needed to act carefully, any wrong move could backfire. With each step, he plotted his next move, envisioning a future where he could claim the fortune and respect he felt he deserved. The anger and resentment swelling inside him were powerful remas, urging him onward. Would his ambition lead him to success, or would it ignite a conflict that could destroy them all? The tension hung heavy, an invisible thread weaving a web of suspense around Osman's heart as he prepared to stake his claim. Mr. Oka leaned back in his chair, the cunning smile playing on his lips as he watched the family unravel. He could see the shadows of greed clouding their judgment, and he decided to take full advantage of the chaos. Calling each family member to his office separately, he masked his intentions behind a facade of helpfulness. When Ben Bella entered, the anxiety etched across his face. Mr. Oka greeted him warmly. "I understand your concerns about the will," he said, his tone smooth as silk. "I can help you secure a larger share. But first, I need to know everything." Ben Bella hesitated, glancing around as if fearing eavesdroppers. But the promise of wealth overrode his caution, and he began to spill his secrets, revealing the resentment he felt towards his siblings and the hidden plans he had concocted. As the days passed, each family member came through Mr. Oka's door, drawn by the same promise. Rema whispered about her secret meetings and her hopes for a better life. Binta confessed her desperate attempts to access Bensoda's wealth, convinced it would solve her problems. Even Osman, fueled by rage, shared his resentment and feelings of entitlement. Mr. Oka listened intently, nodding as they spoke, his mind racing with possibilities. With every confession, he carefully gathered their secrets like precious gems, each one a weapon he could wield later. He knew he could manipulate them, turning their desires against one another. "Trust is fragile," he thought, a glint of mischief in his eyes. The more divided they became, the more power he would have. As the family's desperation grew, so did his plan. Would he become the puppeteer in their drama, pulling strings that led to their downfall? The air buzzed with tension as he plotted his next move, ready to unleash the chaos that lay beneath their surface. The atmosphere in Bensoda's home was thick with tension, each room echoing with harsh words and bitter feelings. Benbella stood in the living room, his face flushed with anger as he faced his siblings. "We must act quickly," he shouted, fists clenched tightly at his sides. The argument erupted like a volcano, spewing accusations and grievances that had simmered beneath the surface for too long. "I deserve more than you," shouted his younger sister, Titule, her voice shaking with rage. "You've always thought you were the favorite." All family ties frayed with each heated exchange, and the love that once united them turned into a battlefield of greed and resentment. The siblings, once inseparable, now glared at each other as if they were strangers. Binta, watching from the side, felt a pang of guilt. She remembered the joyful laughter and shared memories, but that seemed like a distant dream now. "We are tearing ourselves apart," she cried, hoping to bring some sense back to the chaos. But her plea was drowned out by the shouting. "Enough." Osman, Bensoda's older brother, stepped in, trying to impose order. "We all want what's ours, but fighting won't solve anything. We need a plan." His voice, however, did little to calm the storm brewing among them. Jealousy bubbled beneath the surface, as everyone worried their share would dwindle with every passing moment. With each argument, the siblings turned their backs on each other, building walls of distrust. Friends became foes, and laughter turned to harsh whispers. As they plotted in their corners, the family they once cherished slipped away, leaving behind only shadows of what could have been. The greed that consumed them had transformed love into something ugly, and the rift widened with every desperate thought. Would they realize their folly before it was too late, or would the bonds of family be forever shattered? Feeling increasingly isolated amid the chaos of her family, Binta's mind raced for a solution. "If I can't secure my fortune, maybe I can show everyone how generous Bensoda was," she mused, her heart heavy with mixed emotions. The thought of a charitable act ignited a spark of hope. If she donated to a local charity in her husband's name, perhaps it would reflect positively on her when the will was finally revealed. Determined, Binta approached a local charity that worked with children in need. "I would like to make a donation in my husband's name," she announced, her voice steady but her heart pounding. The charity's director welcomed her with open arms, gratitude shining in their eyes. But as Binta listened to their plans for how the funds would help, her mind wandered to her own motives. "This will make me look good," she thought, "and maybe it will show I deserve more." But as she handed over a small amount of money, the shadow of doubt crept in. Was she truly doing this for Bensoda's memory, or was it merely a strategy to win favor? A storm of guilt washed over her, but she pushed it aside. "I'll make a bigger donation later," she promised herself, hoping it would overshadow her family's greed. With a tight smile, she left the charity, her mind spinning with thoughts of how this could turn the tide in her favor. Yet, deep inside, she knew that her heart was tangled in a web of selfishness. As she returned home, the weight of her actions loomed large, and the question lingered, could generosity ever truly come from such a conflicted place? As Binta busied herself with her charitable plan, an air of suspicion began to settle over the family. Benbella, always attuned to the undercurrents of their household, caught snippets of hushed conversations between Rema and Osman. "What are they plotting?" he thought, a spark of anger igniting within him. The very idea of his family uniting against him sent his heart racing. Fueled by resentment, Benbella devised a scheme of his own. He prowled through the house like a shadow, whispering half-truths and fabrications to his siblings. "Did you hear that Rema is planning something behind your backs?" he hissed to his younger brother, Udoka. The look of confusion on Udoka's face quickly morphed into suspicion, and Benbella savored the moment. As the whispers spread, feelings of mistrust blossomed like weeds. Benbella found joy in watching the tension rise among his siblings. "What if they think Binta is trying to steal everything?" he thought with a malicious grin. Each rumor he spread only deepened the rifts between them, turning brother against brother and sister against sister. His heart raced with the thrill of chaos as he quietly observed the fallout. Binta's charitable actions now seemed suspect, a mere mask for her true intentions. The family's bonds began to fray, and the laughter they once shared faded into sharp, cutting words. Benbella felt a rush of power, believing he could control the narrative and play them all against one another. Little did he know that with each lie, he was igniting a fire that could consume them all. The atmosphere thick Kevin with anxiety, and Benbella reveled in the turmoil he had unleashed. Would the family survive this growing storm of deceit, or would it tear them apart forever? The tension in the house had reached a boiling point, and on a stormy night, dark clouds mirrored the chaos brewing within. Benbella, driven by anger and a sense of betrayal, stormed into the living room where Binta was quietly sitting. "You think you can fool us?" he shouted, his voice echoing against the walls like thunder. The flickering candlelight cast sharp shadows across their faces, highlighting the storm of emotions brewing beneath their surfaces. Binta's heart raced, but she stood her ground. "I'm only trying to help," she retorted, her voice trembling with both fear and determination. Benbella's eyes narrowed, his fist clenching. "Help? Or manipulate us into believing you're the good one?" The accusation hung heavy in the air, crackling with intensity. Suddenly, the tension snapped. Rema and Udoka rushed in, drawn by the commotion. "What's happening?" Rema demanded, eyes darting between them. Benbella turned his fury towards her. "Binta is pretending to care about us, but she's only looking out for herself." His words ignited a wildfire of outrage. "Stop it, Benbella!" Udoka shouted, stepping in front of Binta protectively. "You don't even know what you're talking about." The room erupted in chaos as voices grew louder, accusations flying like arrows. Binta felt cornered, and the tears threatened to spill over as she shouted back, "This family is tearing itself apart because of greed." In the whirlwind of shouts and insults, fists began to fly. The brothers grappled, rage transforming their love into a brutal struggle. Rema tried to separate them, but the once strong bonds of family were unraveling, leaving behind only anger and betrayal. Outside, rain poured down in heavy sheets, drumming against the roof as if trying to drown out the turmoil within. The house, once filled with laughter, now echoed with cries of pain and confusion. As the storm raged on, the family faced the terrifying reality that they might lose each other forever. Would they find a way back to the love they once shared, or was this the point of no return? Rema stood frozen in the chaos, her heart pounding as she watched her family tear each other apart. "What has happened to us?" she thought, her mind racing with memories of happier times, laughter echoing through the halls, the warmth of shared meals, and the love that once bonded them all. Now, those moments felt like distant echoes, replaced by shouts of anger and betrayal. As the storm raged outside, mirroring the turmoil within, Rema felt a mix of fear and determination swell inside her. She knew she had to act, to find a way to bring her family back together before it was too late. But fear gnawed at her. What if her efforts only made things worse? What if they turned on her too? She took a deep breath, weighing her options. Could she call a family meeting, or would that only escalate the fighting? Memories of Bensoda's last words echoed in her mind, "Promise me you'll keep the family together." Suddenly, Rema's resolve hardened. She couldn't let their father's legacy crumble under the weight of greed. "I will try," she whispered to herself, the words strengthening her spirit. She envisioned gathering everyone, Benbella, Binta, and the others, around the same table they once shared, where they could talk openly and honestly. But as she stepped toward the chaos, doubt crept in again. What if they rejected her? What if they only became more divided? Her heart raced, torn between hope and despair. Rema realized that this moment could change everything. Would she find the courage to confront her family and help heal their wounds, or would she stand back and watch them fall apart forever? The decision loomed large, heavy with the weight of her family's future. One bright morning, a tension-filled hush fell over the house as Mr. Oka, the family lawyer, arrived. He carried a heavy-looking folder, and the sight of it sent a shiver of anticipation through the room. "It's time to read Bensoda's will," he announced, his voice steady but firm. The family gathered in the living room, their hearts racing with a mix of fear and excitement. As they settled into their seats, whispers filled the air. "What did father leave for us?" Benbella asked, his voice barely above a whisper, eyes glinting with greed. Binta shifted nervously, glancing at her siblings, each one lost in their own thoughts. Rema could feel her heart pounding as she watched the faces around her, each one masked with hope and desperation. Mr. Oka opened the folder, and the room fell silent. Your father wished for you all to understand the importance of family. He began, his tone somber. As he read, the air thickened with tension. He spoke of Bensoda's love for them, his dreams for their future, and his desire for them to remain united. But then came the twist. Bensoda left his wealth not to individuals, but to the family as a whole, Mr. Oka declared, looking each member in the eye. You are to work together to manage it, and only then will you see any of the benefits. Gasps filled the room. Anger and disbelief erupted as Benbella slammed his fist on the table. He can't do this, he shouted, his face turning red. We deserve our share. But Mr. Oka continued calmly, your father believed that unity is stronger than greed. You must learn to trust each other again, or you will lose everything. The weight of his words hung in the air, heavy with the burden of truth. Rema felt a flicker of hope amidst the chaos. Could this be the chance they needed to mend their broken bonds? As the family erupted into arguments, Rema realized that this revelation might force them to confront not just their father's legacy, but also their own hearts. Would they rise to the challenge, or let greed tear them apart once and for all? The atmosphere in the room was electric with tension as Mr. Oka adjusted his glasses and prepared to read Bensoda's will. Every family member leaned forward, hearts pounding in their chests. Each family member will receive only 1% of Bensoda's wealth, he announced, his voice steady but heavy. The silence that followed was deafening, only to be shattered by a chorus of gasps. Benbella's face turned pale, then flushed with a deep, angry crimson. How could he do this? He shouted, his voice echoing off the walls like a thunderclap, filled with disbelief and rage. Rema and Binta exchanged frantic glances, their hearts racing as the reality of their ambitions crumbled around them. They had schemed and plotted, driven by greed, only to find themselves holding a hollow victory. The once cozy living room, filled with laughter and warmth, now felt like a cold, stark prison. This isn't right. Binta cried out, her voice shaking. We deserved more. Her frustration only fueled the fire of chaos. Mr. Oka continued, his expression unrepentable. The rest of the wealth will go to charity. Bensoda wanted to ensure that his legacy would help those in need. His words hung in the air, heavy with finality and purpose. The family erupted in outrage, like a shaken bottle of soda. Benbella, unable to contain his fury, shouted at Binta, you wasted your time scheming instead of supporting each other. This is all your fault. The chaos escalated as siblings turned on one another, accusations flying like arrows. All grievances bubbled to the surface, each person's pain and disappointment intertwining with their greed. I can't believe you would do this to us, one of the younger siblings yelled, tears streaming down their face. We're family. We should be together in this. Rema stood frozen, tears welling in her eyes as she surveyed the mayhem. In that moment, she realized their father's hope for them to cherish their family had turned into ashes. What was once a bond of love had been replaced with distrust and betrayal. This isn't what Bensoda wanted, she shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos like a knife. He wanted us to love each other, not tear each other apart. But her plea was lost in the storm of anger. Voices grew louder, fists clenched in rage, and the room felt suffocating. The darkness of greed had overshadowed any light of unity they once shared. Rema felt a flicker of determination ignite within her. They had two choices, to continue down this destructive path of hatred or to rise from the ashes, honoring their father's memory. As she watched her family unravel, Rema resolved to fight for the love they once had. We need to come together, she urged, her voice steady despite her fear. If we don't, we will lose everything, our father's legacy, and each other. But would her words resonate with a family so consumed by their own desires? The storm raged on, each family member trapped in their whirlwind of greed and disappointment. Rema's heart sank at the thought of losing not just their father's wealth, but the love and support they once took for granted. The weight of their choices pressed down upon them, and the question lingered in the air, could they find the strength to change and come together, or would Bensoda's final wish slip through their fingers like sand? The answer remained uncertain, teetering on the edge of hope and despair as the echoes of their father's voice faded into the background.